Well, Meridian has been working with international companies for over 20 years. And throughout that time, what we see and have seen again and again is that VAT is rarely on top of anyone's agenda. The exception is that of the VAT manager. But more often than not, this role just doesn't exist, especially in SMEs who are selling internationally from their own web store or marketplaces like Amazon or eBay. Their overriding priorities are to sell the product, get paid, ship it, and deal with any returns as quickly as possible. VAT is simply down the list of priorities. It's not like it's some conspiracy or anything not to pay the VAT. It's just that VAT falls between the stools while other things are happening. Yes, I'm afraid so. When it comes to companies who are selling products via the internet, we see a few different types of sellers. There is the seller that doesn't realize that when they ship internationally, sometimes that means they need to charge VAT at a different rate. If anyone in the company does think to ask the question what VAT should be charged on that invoice, then at least the issue is being looked at. However, sellers are so busy responding to the customer that they don't get to think of the question, never mind answer it, and they just charge the local VAT. Then there's the seller that we see as well that vaguely knows that VAT is something that they should be looking after, but they've decided to put it on the long finger because in their mind it's too complicated. Well, there is a certain amount of complication. E-commerce companies and logistics companies, they work together. So e-commerce and logistics go hand in hand, and with so much innovation in both of these areas, there's going to be VAT implications. So instead of the question being what VAT should be charged on that invoice, things get a little bit more elaborate, and now it becomes what VAT should we charge on the invoice for the product that's being sold to a customer in another country, but the product is being delivered by our logistics partner who has a warehouse in the same country as the customer. So as you can see, it's not straightforward, and I can totally understand a firm's discomfort in facing the whole topic of VAT and compliance head on. But companies that sell products to individuals in other countries via the internet don't need to be experts on the topic of VAT. If they keep an eye on some high-level items, then they will make life easier for themselves in the long run. The big thing that sellers need to find out is if they need to register for VAT in another country. If they keep an eye on some items that can flag this, then they are on the right track. First thing is to track and know the value of sales into other countries. It may seem obvious, but if you're selling to customers in another country through a variety of different channels and marketplaces, you need to total these up. You then need to compare the sales totals against distance selling thresholds. Second piece of advice is to know what countries your product is being delivered from and to. And finally, to know if and when your product has moved from one country to another before it's sold. This means knowing which warehouse or fulfillment center your product is actually in. The final thing I will say is that if you determine, either yourself or with the help of an expert, that you need to VAT register in another country, go ahead and get it done. It's not a choice, and the sooner it's done, the better. You are doing yourself a favor by minimizing any of the risks that exist.